It's time for our Media Watch now, and James Creedon is with us in the studio. Good to see you, James.
Hi, Laura.
We're going to start with the European elections. It has to be said there isn't a great deal of interest about the elections here in France, which are just about 2 weeks away now.
That's right.
The French government is trying to get people up and about and encourage them to vote.
So they've developed a hashtag. Some bright spark came up with the idea that if we make the election go viral, then people might vote. So somebody in the communications in the French government came up with this hashtag. This is not a voting booth. Ceci n'est pas un isoloir. And so the idea was the different, arms of different wings of the French government, such as this prefecture in Alsace or this prefecture in Creuse, would tweet images of places that aren't voting booths and
it's
say,
like a public toilet.
So I think the idea is that it's kind of the shape of a voting booth.
Oh, I see.
But it's not a voting booth. That's
right.
Dressing rooms in a swimming pool or something. That's a
Changing
door.
rooms, yeah. Right.
That's a sitting room. Anyway, I think we can all agree pretty lame. But perhaps the idea was that make it so lame that it goes viral and gets mocked, which is what happened, which was perhaps
Good
a bit
strategy,
predictable.
right.
So then you had people saying, this is not a voting booth, and that's a biro. This is not a voting booth. A lot of people then went with public toilets, you see.
Yes,
now, I suppose the fact that I'm talking about it, the fact that it was... it did become viral online for maybe slightly the wrong reasons, means that maybe the strategists kind of got it right in terms of drawing attention to the fact that everybody should go out and vote. Because the whole point here is to encourage people to actually turn up and vote on the day.
That's right. Not the European Union.
That's right. This is the French government basically trying to drum up interest in the elections, remaining neutral.
So don't talk about the policies.
Remaining neutral, exactly, just saying, please go and vote.
But actually,
worth pointing out that this is Atlantico.fr, they're saying the most important thing in these elections is actually voter turnout, because people generally, for elections such as the European elections, their decision in terms of who they would vote for is sort of made. That's what Ipsos and other polling agencies are saying, that actually people are sort of pretty sure what choice they would make. It's just a question of whether or not they're going to vote.
Whether they'll bother and get to the isoloir.
Exactly, get to the isoloir. So there you go. Ceci n'est pas un isoloir.
Okay.
Hashtag.
And other candidates have launched video games.
That's right. Now that might seem a little bit, again, I suppose this is all trying to drum up interest.
European election video games.
Or kind of just these sort of lame, very early internet type version video games. So Game On, this is the young people with Macron. The head of the LREM campaign is Nathalie Loiseau. You can see her here. And so they put out this video game. You can play with, I haven't really attempted to play this very well, but the idea is I think that she gets cherries or European flags or stars or whatever, and I suppose the idea again is maybe to make it a little bit more appealing for young voters. You could say really, but apparently
really
then you had the Communist Party, which exists and is still a political force, not very big, but it does exist here in France, and they started mocking Nathalie Loiseau, who is the former director of the ENA, the École Nationale d'Administration, which is quite an elite school here in France. Might be getting scrapped indeed, or at least reformulated. And they're saying, hold on a minute, the former head of the ENA, is this the kind of person that we should be considering as a European heroine? Workers for Europe. And so they put out their video game, which is equally sort of basic, and they have their candidate. Anyway, we don't have to play it because it's very bad.
They've got no stuff in theirs.
Right.
Communist.
And would you believe that this is kind of a French tradition? You've got Jean-Luc Mélenchon, one of the far left candidates, who's also had a video game in the past, and even Nicolas Sarkozy. Going back to the 2007 presidential election, there was something called Disco Sarko. Anyway,
I think you covered that right here.
There you go.
That was a long time ago.
I may well have done.
All right, let's talk about something else.
Yes.
Happening here in France tomorrow, a bit more glamorous than the European elections.
Yes.
The Cannes Film Festival down on the French Riviera.
And Alain Delon is to be honoured with the equivalent of a lifetime achievement award. Certainly, he was one of the French icons of cinema and an extremely attractive man in his day. I think everyone would agree. But in any case, he has come out with some statements that have been seen as misogynistic, anti-LGBT, anti-this, anti-that, anti the other. And so there has been a petition launched against the idea that he would get an honorary Palme d'Or. I suppose this is very much in the air, very much the times we're living in now, isn't it? These icons of cinema, their past catching up with them and statements. And so there were allegations from one of his children that of domestic abuse. One of his sons even
Allegedly.
said that he locked him up in a cage with dogs to toughen him up. Came out in a documentary recently. So certainly his demons are catching up with him. But the the head of the Cannes Film Festival,
Friends with
Thierry
Brigitte Bardot,
Frémaux.
isn't he?
We say again?
Big friends with Brigitte Bardot. Close friends.
Yes. I wasn't even aware actually, but there you go.
Yeah.
We're not giving him
That's
the
false.
Nobel Peace Prize, says Thierry Frémaux, in terms of defending that decision. In other words, it's a prize for his acting. Not for the kind of quality of human being.
Lifetime Achievement Award rather than a personality and parenting
Exactly,
award. All right,
exactly.
okay. James, we'll have to leave it there, but thank you very much
Thanks,
indeed.
Laura.
James Creedon there.